It looks like Dylan turned off my ability to share his screen.
Oh, really?
Do you have his, are you able to message him, Sam, or?
Yeah.
I don't think I have his.
I'll Slack him.
Okay. Let me try it. Maybe I'll log out. No, it's the same thing.
Oh, here he's coming on.
Dylan, do you see your Slack message?
Yes, I just saw it there. Okay, you should be good now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Correct.
You guys hear me okay? Just checking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I will be, what time is it? I'll be right back. Hi, welcome everyone who's joining. This is Shelly Azen. It's still 2 minutes to 4, so we're just going to hang on tight and wait for more people to join. But welcome. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see some familiar faces. We still have a few folks dialing in, so we'll wait a moment to get started. It's good to see not everyone's power is out, because I think it was for a lot of us just a few hours ago. It was a weird weather afternoon.
Mine's out.
Is it still?
Our generator's running nonstop. It's very loud.
Oh, well, we can't hear it, so that's good.
Yeah.
Is anyone in New Jersey? I was just talking to a friend or a colleague in New Jersey about a half an hour ago, and it was just really hitting over there.
I'm in Jersey, but now it's beautiful.
Oh, that's
It's
right. You are.
beautiful
I
here.
can see
The
the sun
sun's
there,
out.
actually. I know. It's
Yeah.
weird. And it's like there's not even a puddle outside. And I thought there was like a freight train coming through my window earlier. That's how bad it sounded.
Shelly, there's a huge tree. Like somebody posted on Facebook that one of their kids was running the Harriton track, and the wind picked up, and right in front of them a tree fell. Like it's huge, massive.
Oh my gosh. I already got a text message from our township saying the trees are down on this street, this street,
They're
this
everywhere.
street, this street. I know, it's
Everywhere.
crazy. Another little microburst.
Our friends work for the fire department in Gladwin, and they sent a text that said, basically, there are so many trees down, unless your tree is blocking a major thoroughfare, you're last on the list. Just don't text us.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Well, hope everyone is safe out there this week for many reasons. It's a few after, it's about almost 5 after, so why don't we go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone, and welcome back. We took a little hiatus last week, of course, with the short week and the holiday, but good to see everybody again. I am Shelly Azen, and along with Keith Black and Vicki Sack and Michael Harden, happy to host everybody again this week. Just as a reminder, if you've already joined us, for previous calls, our schedule is the same. It's just a good opportunity for us to stay connected. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about any legal changes in the last 2 weeks that are important for us to know, particularly around COVID. We have a guest today, Kelly Scally from goPuff, who's going to talk to us a little bit about how hiring has spiked actually at goPuff, which might be the opposite of what a lot of us have experienced, and some other interesting facts about having a company in the city in the heart of a lockdown in a lot of cases. So we're happy to have you, Kelly. And then of course, as always, beverages are optional. This is happy hour after all. So with that, I will turn it over to Keith to talk to us about some legal changes since we last spoke.
Thank you, Shelly, and hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Not a lot to report. Again, quiet on the legislative front. We talked about the House passing a potential new bill, but that's not going anywhere fast. A couple minor things. The IRS has amended their flexible benefits plans to permit mid-year changes to coverage for 2020, regardless of whether the plan permits change. So you might want to look at that if employees need to make changes as a result of COVID. There is some flexibility now in doing that. On the OSHA front, they've issued updated interim enforcement plan, new guidance on how to investigate COVID in the workplace. And for employers of 10 or more employees, you are required to report to OSHA any employee who is diagnosed with COVID-19 in the workplace. And then just a reminder, a lot of jurisdictions are either encouraging or requiring citizens and employees to wear face masks. So keep an eye on that. In jurisdictions where you have employees, you may be required to, in some cases, provide them with coverings, and in other cases, just require that they use them. And then one other thing, it's not a legislative matter, but with everything that we're dealing with right now, I think it'd be remiss to not mention, if you're all familiar with the situation with Amy Cooper in Central Park and the bird watching incident, you'd note that she was fired the day after this happened by her employer. And that's led to a lot of questions to us from employers about what happens if my employees engage in inappropriate conduct on social media, on video, whatever it might be. And you might recall a similar situation a couple weeks ago we talked about in Texas with the law firm employee who had threatened store employees who would require him to wear a mask, and he was also terminated. So it's a reminder that just because conduct takes place outside of the workplace doesn't mean that it's free, and that the employees can do what they want. So if you have questions about that, don't feel that you can't do anything about it. They still are employees of yours, and you still have a code of conduct that you expect them to follow. So you will be probably seeing more of this as people are identified from some of the videos that have been making their way around lately. That's all I got for now. Quiet week.
Thank you.
that
I
regard.
was just going to say, Keith, I shared earlier when we were prepping for this meeting, I went for a run this morning with an HR friend of mine, social distanced, of course. And she said that on Monday, they actually had to terminate 2 people because they've made posts on social media over the weekend. My gut tells me we're going to have more and more of this, Keith, so you may not have a lot of quiet weeks coming forward. But I think we're going to have a lot of that. There's just a lot of volatility in everything that's happening. And I think we're going to have another big uphill battle as HR professionals to climb and to help our companies. So,
Agree totally. Thanks.
any questions for Keith? All right, I'll now turn it over to Vicki Sack.
So we are thrilled to have Kelly Scally, who leads talent acquisition for goPuff. I will leave Kelly to talk about what goPuff does if you're not familiar, but they've been a wonderful client of Juno's, and they're growing like crazy, and really fun company. And I'm going to tee up Samantha Schiff on our team, who is the director of our HR division at Juno and works closely with Kelly and has worked on some positions on their team as well. And we're going to do a little sort of fireside happy hour chat with Kelly, ask some questions, leave some open-ended conversation for the rest of you to chime in and throw some questions at Kelly as well. So I'm going to tee up Sam. So Sam, if you want to take the lead. If you have questions and you want to type them in the chat while we're going, that is fine, but we also can save them for the end. So if it's really compelling and you can't wait, feel free to type it in.
Thanks, Vicki. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to have you this week on the HR at Home. Although this week will be different because we'll be talking about talent acquisition and growing, during a pandemic. So do you want to start off by telling everyone about goPuff, the history, and your role in the organization?
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I know you guys usually focus on other HR aspects, but I'm very passionate about talent acquisition because it's pretty much all I've ever done. So if you're not familiar with goPuff and you live in Philadelphia, we are a delivery company. It's an app. So we're a tech company, but we also have operations in many cities. We deliver essentials from cleaning supplies to home needs, over-the-counter medication, food, drinks, and we do that in just minutes. We have centrally located facilities, which allow us really to reduce our delivery times and get you the products that you want quick. We're in close to 200 markets at this point. We have a flat delivery charge. So it's $1.95 no matter what you order every time. Unless you join our fam, then you can get that charge removed. There's no waiting hours or even days for delivery. And during COVID, we saw a huge spike in our business because of our ability to get product to people very quickly. So as the most affordable delivery service on the market, we bring our customers what they need and when they need it the most. From a history standpoint, we were founded in Philadelphia in 2013. If you haven't read the story of our founders, Raf and Yakir, they're both Drexel grads who founded the company while they were still students. They both come from entrepreneurial families. They conceptualized goPuff while they were at Drexel. And now we've grown to close to 200 locations, serving over 500 cities across the country, and we have over 3,000 employees, which has close to doubled since I started. That's how quickly we're growing. For me, my role is to lead talent acquisition. So as a startup, we grew organically. So this is really the first talent acquisition department that the company has had. So when I started in September, Juno actually is the reason why I'm here. I started my career over 15 years ago at Aramark, and I worked there for over 13 years. I made the move to go to a little bit smaller of a company called Radial, which is the old GSI Commerce. So born another very successful startup in the Philadelphia region. And while I was working there, Juno reached out to me about this opportunity. And living in the suburbs, I did not know what goPuff was, so I had to do a lot of extensive research on who the company was and what they did. But the more I learned, the more I talked to the people there and learned the culture, and then had the opportunity to meet with the founders, I just fell in love with the whole concept, the company, and the ability to come in and build something from scratch. So it's been a really exciting 7 months. Very busy, but very exciting. So
awesome. Thanks for sharing. It's been exciting seeing the growth for sure over the past couple of months specifically. But can you comment on how you and the team have continued hiring during the pandemic and what examples you can provide?
Sure. So I think one thing I can say is that when you get a group of people together in the culture of goPuff, we are a company of doers. So if there's a problem, we're going to solve it, and we're going to solve it to win it. So when the whole COVID-19, started happening in March, we pulled together a cross-functional team to really keep an eye on the news and what was happening, and start making decisions and plans on how we were going to respond. So really over one weekend, we decided to go remote, which was probably around the same time that everybody else did. And we had at that time over 20 people scheduled to start Monday. So we quickly adjusted that plan, told people that we were going to start them remotely, figured out a way to get them their equipment to their homes, and shifted all of our meetings that were typically in person, because we onboarded everybody in person at our HQ, whether you were in the field or not, in a salaried role. So we had to shift to like video chats and having all of those meetings remotely. So the first week, not perfect by any means. We had people whose equipment didn't really get there until Wednesday or Thursday. But after that, we got some processes in place, and our teams, our IT team pulled together, our HR team, our talent acquisition team, with a lot of communication. And I would say since then, we've hired people every single week through COVID. And we've gotten, now they start on Monday morning with their equipment, and they're able to, attend all the trainings remotely.
That's awesome.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What do you think has worked, like from a remote onboarding standpoint? What do you think what lessons have you learned, and what has been most effective in getting people onboarded and acclimated and feeling part of the team from a remote standpoint? Because it's a huge challenge to bring people into an organization and make them feel part of the team quickly and effectively start participating in the conversations that are going on and things like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I think that foundationally, we had a really good onboarding process that was working very well for us. So we had all of the training materials and everything created. And since we had all of that done, we were able to just quickly shift it into a virtual platform. So I think the other piece too is our HR and training team really pulled together a lot of materials that helped managers like myself and other people on the team who maybe have never managed remote employees before, give them some tools and resources to help them build, better onboarding plans and get them where they need to be quickly. And I think it just also for us, it's all about drive. So culturally, we look for people who are willing to jump in and just get stuff done very quickly and adjust. And I think that, culturally, we look for people that we hire with those qualities as well. And that's helped with the onboarding piece. I hope that answers your question.
And moving on, I know you're doing a lot of hiring, you're onboarding, employees virtually. Has goPuff put a plan in place on continued growth during the pandemic? What's going to be like the future of hiring?
Yeah, so we have slowed down in our growth, and a lot of that was driven by the fact that courts and local governments were closed during the pandemic, and we do have our own facilities in every market. So in order to launch, we have to go through inspections because we have food, health inspections, fire inspections. So a lot of coding and things and permitting that needed to be done got put on hold. So we shifted, but every week during the pandemic, we have actually opened at least one site. And in April, we opened the entire market of Miami. So we opened 4 sites down there, and we continue to expand in every market. We've focused on, if we had a lot of growth or additional orders and just volume coming in from customers, we focused on those markets. If we could stand up a building pretty quickly in any of those markets to help alleviate, some of that and drive down delivery times, that's what we focus on. But our plan is a little bit altered from where it was at the beginning of the year, just given the state of not being able to open as many sites as we wanted to, but we still continue to open sites throughout the rest of the year, and we will.
Has your business plan been affected? I know colleges are a big market for you guys. So has the shutdown of campuses impacted you in a negative way?
I think initially, yes, but I also think that as we've grown, yes, we look for areas to grow around campuses, but we're in a lot of major cities and our demographic has changed a lot. So our marketing team and our brand team is really looking at who needs us at this time. So I watched a chat with our founders the other day, and they talked about, we're targeting, probably people more my age who are closer to who have families and, need things quickly and don't want to leave the house or can't leave the house. So definitely our customer base has shifted, and that's driving some of the additional volume that we have.
I would also think the senior population who can't always get out, but they have needs for prescriptions and pharmacy things, and
yeah,
maybe they don't use the technology the same
way.
That's
the I think that maybe the technology might be a barrier there.
I actually saw this timeline of consumer reports for goPuff and how, what consumers were ordering and, how that shifted. But can you comment on some of the hottest selling items?
Yes, and I have that list for you. Where did I put that on my sheet? So we're seeing a lot more, obviously, cleaning products, hand sanitizers, household essentials, just people not wanting to leave the house to get toilet paper. Our supply chain early on, spent day and night working with suppliers and trying to source all of those things so that we were a source of toilet paper and things that people couldn't get at a regular store. Over-the-counter medications, meat, bread, pasta, canned items, and water, as well as we've seen an increase in baby products too.
Interesting.
And of course, we've seen an increase in alcohol. We do deliver alcohol, and in Pennsylvania, we were probably one of the only places you could get it.
Very true. I live in the city, so it was hard when all the liquor stores were shut down, but it's easier to get beer and spirits from goPuff. It's so quick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You just have to plan.
Yes. All right. And then, with what's going on in today's world, just want to understand a little bit how goPuff's being supportive of their employees, being headquartered in Philadelphia during this unsettling time, from a security and mental health standpoint. Is there anything that you can comment on what goPuff's doing to support their employees?
Yeah, during this time, and it's not just Philadelphia, we're in many major cities.
Right.
We have 3 locations in Minneapolis. So we're in the thick of it, not just here. So we're taking a lot of our cues from, local governments. We're abiding by curfews. We're opening and closing our buildings and operating them on different hours. And our ops team is really just working around the clock to make sure that people are safe. We have stories of general managers driving people home and making sure that they get to their houses. They're checking in with them. even when the warehouse is closed, just making sure that, I mean, safety of our employees is our number one priority. And if even before things got really crazy in Minneapolis, we made the decision to close down our warehouses and keep our employees safe. We didn't want our drivers having to drive, and our employees being in the warehouse during the unsettled times. So from a mental health standpoint, we have an employee hotline that's always open for our employees, as well as, our benefits through, I think it's Cigna. They have resources that they can utilize if they need to.
Awesome. I don't know if anyone else has any questions regarding, that topic, but I was gonna dive into, is there any advice or insight you can share with either HR or talent acquisition professionals here today when hiring during a pandemic or even the post-pandemic, and where we're going to go from there?
Yeah, I think that, just our culture as a company has kind of stayed the same. So I think as the best advice I can give is stay true to who you are as a company, be able to explain that to future potential employees, be able to talk to how the things that we've done to keep our employees safe during the pandemic, and then beyond, what our plans are, just being fully transparent on who we are and what's important to us, and how we're going to, treat you as an employee if you come on board with us.
Can I ask a follow-up? So you guys have been virtually interviewing and virtually onboarding folks, and I think people in the community have had mixed experiences with how that works and how it doesn't. For an example, we have a lot of clients who they've gone through the virtual interviewing process fairly well, and then you get to this final stage and they're like, I can't bring this person on board without meeting them. Like, they've got to be a culture fit. Like, how are you addressing those kinds of issues?
So for our field recruiting, our general managers and even our warehouse associates, we've been pretty virtual in that hiring process already, even before the pandemic. So especially as we're launching new markets, we maybe don't have people on the ground. So a lot of our hiring has been done through video. You're always going to have some people that, maybe interview really well on the video, but, can't walk the talk once they start. But we've been pretty successful. I think that, we have our core values. They drive everything that we do, and the questions that we ask people and the behaviors that we expect from them. So I think it's just our culture is so inbred in everything that we do. I think we have the ability to see that through videos as well. It was a shift, especially for our founders. They are used to meeting people in person, and they do interview every single person that works at our headquarters building, and our field leaders at the higher levels. So I think that was a shift, but again, I think it just comes down to, we have our core values. That's who we are, and that's what we look for.
Do you think any of the things that have happened over the past 3 months are things that, yes, it was a shift in how you do things, but this is going to stay? This is like actually working, and it's going to really stick, and it's a time saver, or it's like,
I think some things, yes, for sure. But I think we also, as a company, we really like each other a lot, and all of us really miss being in the office together, and I'm sure everyone can relate to that. So none of us want to stay virtual forever. Definitely want to get back in the office and, see my team in person, see all the people that we work with, have those hallway conversations with our hiring managers. So I don't know what the future holds, but definitely things are going to be different and change. Just from, a social distancing standpoint, our office is not set up to social distance at all. We're a very open floor plan, and we sit very close to each other.
Yeah.
And share a lot of snacks. I see
I
see on Instagram, you have ice cream parties, and I'm like, I mean, we do the
And we
same
have,
thing.
yeah, every room, every conference room has a bucket of snacks that gets refilled every single day.
Not now.
We are. Not now. No.
Everyone
Joked
brings their own
around like
snacks.
we all like each other a lot, but I'm not a hugger. But I've never wanted to hug everyone in my office so much, and I can't for like a year.
Exactly.
If there aren't any other, does anyone else have any? I'm happy to open it up to the rest of the floor if people have comments, questions. And I would even say, if people want to have conversation around just generally what's going on in the HR community and in our community as a whole, to just have an open dialogue, I think that would be welcome right now, because I think everybody, there's a lot going on that people want to share and have feedback and share ideas and have a little dialogue. So I would even open it up to all of that for us all to respond to one another.
I actually have a question. My name's Carol, and I work for Sanmar. We are locally, we're a distribution center. And we have two things that we're struggling with right now. One goes to recruiting, which is our candidates and our employees, they struggle with technology. So our struggle is how we are going to do the social distancing recruiting, because trying to do Zoom or Skype with them, it's going to be a little, there's going to, be some complications. So if anybody has any ideas of how they're working around that when they have a problem, we have to help them sometimes just fill out an application on the computer. So I don't know. We're trying to come up with how we can social distance recruit.
Well, I can say from my standpoint, we do try to do a video chat with every single one of our hourly associates that we hire. But there are times where technology does get in the way and it's a challenge. So we maybe shift to a phone screen and try to do a social or a video screen later, or sometimes we do hire them via a phone screen. Yeah,
and that's, as you were saying before, it's just not generally our culture. Like we really, you can't read somebody through a phone. And we actually have had situations where we've had candidates put family members on the phone when we're doing the phone screen. Oh yeah. And they'll answer all the questions. And then when the person, and it was a male answering all the questions, let's say, and then the person shows up for the interview and they're a female. Mm. So we really need to see this person and make sure it's the person we're hiring. So that's like a struggle that we're having. And the other struggle we're having is, and we're just starting to have it. We're mentioning your culture there, how you guys will have ice cream socials and all that. Us too. And we don't want our culture to change, but our culture is going to change because we can't do all that right now because of social distancing. And so we're trying to figure out how we can keep our culture, but like what kind of events and things that we can do that will promote social distancing, but still make it feel like Sanmar.
So I think one of the things that we've done, we used to have in-person trainings at our headquarters that we call Facts and Snacks. It's kind of our take on lunch and learns. And through the pandemic, our training team has actually done several Facts and Snacks on different things. And we've worked with Cigna Behavioral Health, and they've brought people to talk about, sleeping. Some people are having trouble sleeping. So we did a whole Facts and Snacks on how do you get a better night's sleep and what are some things that you can do. Healthy eating and cooking during while you're at home. So we've had a couple of those things, and I think that's one way. It's virtual, obviously. You're doing it via video, but
our employees are at work.
What's that?
Our employees are at work.
They are.
They're or at least our warehouse workers. That's where we're trying to figure out how we can keep the culture for them.
Gotcha.
Is anyone else doing that well that could help Carol?
We've talked about the fact that once we come back to the office, like we are a very social group, and we do a lot of potluck lunches and breakfast things and whatever. Yep. And so we've talked about like still doing them, but it's got to be BYO. Mm-hmm. Like we could, like we joked around about like happy hour is great, but you all have to bring your own cooler. Like. And keep it so there's no food sharing, but we can still kind of, obviously distance. And the other struggle we have is we're not going to probably for a little while allow the whole office back at the same time. So it might not be everybody at one time. So how do we, that's a little bit of a struggle, but yeah, we're like, we can still do some fun things, but you have to bring your own stuff because we can't share anything.
Yeah, that's an idea. I mean, maybe we could get them, pull the tables apart and stuff like that. Maybe a little barbecue outside, but you have to bring your own food and social distance the tables. That's an idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Who else? Kelly, I have I'm interested in hearing about, I know you had mentioned some of your supervisors are driving, in one case has driven someone home to make sure they get home okay. Are you able to share sort of globally, is every city doing something different because of the different sort of curfews and rules? Like I know you said you have a couple offices in Minneapolis and then of course the one here, but how are you keeping a handle on that? Are you having a call every day with sort of a safety team or the general manager of those locations? How are you making sure that you're staying abreast of what's happening and then shifting your safety protocols accordingly?
Yeah, so this is mainly our ops team. So I have limited visibility to everything that's going on, but I do attend calls with our ops team. I know that they have daily calls. We also utilize Slack for just about everything we do. So we have Slack channels that our district managers are feeding information into, our region managers. So we're really relying on the people who are on the ground to share that information and help our leaders make decisions around things. You know, if there's a curfew, we have to close the building. If you know, the unrest starts to get close to our buildings, then, you know, the GM and the district manager, or whoever's on the ground there, would notify our ops leadership and let them know what they decide to do. But a lot of those decisions are being made as necessary. And we're relying on the people on the ground to make sure that we keep our employees safe too.
Yeah.
Kelly, that leads, I'm just curious, have all the curfews and sort of like these sudden pop-up riots and looting and things like that affected your ability to deliver to your clients in any way? And how are you dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a curfew, we close our building until the curfew is lifted. So we've shifted our hours of operation to make sure that we're following the guidelines of the government and the city or locality to, you know, we're not going to put anybody in danger. So if we're not supposed to be on the street, we're not going to.
So much for the emergency ice cream beer delivery at midnight.
Yeah, it's not happening in the cities where there's curfews.
Well, certainly all that is testing your ability to be sort of nimble and agile. So I give you credit. Everything you just talked about is really impressive, honestly.
Thank you.
It's a lot.
It's been a lot, but it's been great.
Someone has a question. Was it you, Colin?
Yes, I do. So I work for Heyday. They provide personalized facials. We have location in Philly and New York and LA as well. We're gearing up. So we've been closed due to COVID, but we're gearing up for reopen, and it will look different per market. I think we have a lot of hourly employees. It's a very personal, hands-on type of business. And I think one of the things that I'm gearing up for is how do we almost anticipate the unexpected in terms of headcount and open positions, because I anticipate that some people will want to come back, some people won't want to come back. There's a lot of flexibility, and it's really kind of up in the air, and we're going to have to change around scheduling, and there's going to be different challenges there. So how are you dealing with kind of your hourly employees and the varying open positions?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, I had notes on one of the probably most successful things that we did that I didn't even talk about. So early on in the pandemic, we immediately saw a spike in certain cities when people were told to stay home, and then, you know, they couldn't get the essentials that they needed in stores, so they started, you know, turning to goPuff. And we had we hire all of our warehouse workers directly, but we really didn't have any kind of temp solution. We've never used temporary workers prior to now. So actually, instead of trying to work through a contracting process with an agency, we decided to stand up our own temp solution in-house. So we worked with our legal team and our HR team, pulled together an offer letter, and my team pulled together the process on how we were going to screen and hire temporary workers. So we stood that up. We built the whole process over a weekend, and on Monday morning we launched it, or we got the approval from our founders to do it. And then we launched it on Monday morning, and we are in week 10, I think, of hiring. We've screened over 10,000 applicants. We've had over 10,000 applicants. We've conducted over 1,100 phone screens, made over 650 offers, and hired close to 400 temps across our network, just to get, to solve for the extra volume, but not hire full-time associates.
Have you had any challenges with that? And one of the things I anticipate is people right now are collecting a lot of money from unemployment. And have you done anything to kind of entice your offer, or is it a higher hourly rate? Anything to like total rewards?
Yeah, so we also implemented a stipend for all of our workers. Initially, we weren't giving that to the temps, but after 2 weeks of hiring the temps into the buildings, we started also offering that to them, so they get an additional flat rate or additional pay, which increases their hourly rate by about $2 an hour, as long as they work 20 hours a week and they show up for their scheduled shifts. So to entice them to come to work. We also provide gloves and masks, and we've done that early on, enhance our cleaning in all of our facilities, to make sure that everybody stays safe. And we also have a COVID response team that meets daily that looks at all of the reports that we have. And now with contact reporting, we have, even better records of who may have been in contact. We have had a couple of instances where we didn't feel comfortable with leaving the warehouse open. We closed it down, had a deep clean, and reopened it just to make sure that everybody was safe.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Kelly, have you had a large incidence of cases?
We haven't. No. I think the majority of them are in our driver partners. But in addition to the stipend, we also offer to encourage people to report when they potentially have been exposed. If they start feeling symptomatic, we give them 3 days paid to go and get tested. If they test positive, then they get 14 days paid to recover and come back to work. If they test negative, then we ask them to come back to work after the 3-day period. So that's really helped, I think, maybe drive down the number of cases that we have had reported and the times that we've had to close our warehouses, because we're encouraging people to let us know and not just come into work because they need their paycheck. We're going to make sure that they get it no matter what.
Similarly, have you changed your sick policy as a result of that for that same reason?
I don't know that we've changed the whole, our overall policy. No, I think it's just, this is in place for the pandemic.
Yeah, it's good. Other questions? So similar to what Vicki said, any other comments or thoughts around what's happening in the world or our community that anybody else wants to talk about while we're together? Nothing? All right, well, it's your call, certainly. So Vicki or Sam or Keith, unless you guys have anything else, maybe we wrap it up early today.
But I have one question for Kelly.
Oh yeah, of course.
Hi, I'm Michelle Burdell, and I was talking to a former colleague of mine, And the question was, how do you address the issue of the unrest right now? And so Kelly, have you spoken with any of your essential supervisors about having a discussion in terms of their feelings and sentiments regarding the riots?
So that's really not my department. I'm probably not the best person to answer that question, but I know that our HR team is working very closely with all of our field leadership to address diversity and things like that. But I don't know the specific plans that are going down to the supervisors at this time. Sorry, I can't answer that.
How is there anybody else on the call who has any context for Michelle? Michelle, I'm assuming you support a company where you are at work.
I used to support a warehouse group, and I had a colleague who had called me today, as a matter of fact, in terms of any feedback I could give him in terms of communicating with his staff.
Mm. Yeah, it's very generic, but if somebody, and anyone else can feel free to chime in, if anyone asked me that question, I would say, similar to what Kelly already shared, is it safer and smart to shut down when the curfew starts? And if that changes shifts, perhaps you have to think about changing your business that way, because that seems like it would be the right thing to do for your employees. It's probably what the mandate says anyway about the curfew, unless you're perhaps an essential worker. I think, I don't know how many people work in this warehouse, but I might do a little quick town hall to say, how are you all getting to work? Do you feel comfortable getting to work in a way that you can come in and out of the city in a safe way? And or are you able to it's the shifts really, that's the tough part. I think sometimes just getting feedback from employees is a part that we forget to do. And they often have the answers that we don't have if we just ask.
And also around, are people comfortable enough to have that conversation to address those sensitive issues? Because it's 50-50. Do you not address it, or do you address it, or leave it as the elephant in the room?
I'm going to add something that came up. So I'm on the board of PSPS, and we had a really interesting board call this morning. And the first thing I just thought this was a very interesting comment. So I will just throw it out there. Someone said that they feel like the current situation has thrown them into a position where you have to react whether you choose to or not. Similar to the pandemic, where companies who were not comfortable with remote work previously have been thrown into the position where they have to respond and react and accept that remote work is a thing and we have to figure it out. Similarly, companies have now been thrown into the fact that there's a racism issue in our workplaces, and whether you choose to accept the fact that it's there or not, it is here. And so you have to start having these conversations, and they called them I can't remember the term someone used, but I thought it was really interesting. It was like, these conversations have to happen whether you're ready for them or not. Just forget whether all the planning, all the thinking, all the whatever. This is an issue. You have to address it, and just do it. Let's just start having the conversation.
Yeah, and I had coached the person on having the conversation and frame it around learning to understand, or learning by understanding, allowing people to have that hard conversation so that they can understand, and for the Black population to acknowledge whatever pain that they might be experiencing right now.
I had a client this week, and what the CEO certainly put out a message to the organization, but some of the managers, supervisors, directors, whatever their titles are, sent a note to their teams on Monday morning, everybody on their team, their work group, and said, I know it's been a rough couple of days. I'm here for you. I'm here to listen. Everyone's processing this in a different way. Know that I support you, and I'll do whatever I can to support you. And some folks emailed right away and said, thank you so much. That means a lot. It took some folks until this morning to write that manager back and say, it's been a really tough 48 hours and I've struggled having a conversation, but it's good to know that you'll support me. I don't think anyone thinks that any leader has the answers. We don't. I personally think we would be remiss if you didn't say something as a leader. You can't ignore it, to Vicky's point. You have to face it. COVID came and we have to address it. This is here now, we have to address it. And I think it's right, Michelle, it's like the uncomfortableness of like, I don't know what to say. Should I say? Is it going to make them angry? I don't want to offend them. I want to be supportive. And I think if you just say, I don't know what to say, but I want you to know that I'm here to support you. Whatever that means for you is different than someone else and someone else. That's the approach I've been taking and have been giving advice to take. And if I was the leader of teams, that's what I would be doing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Our CEO put out a message too that we went to all the employees in our warehouse and letting them know that he's there for them. Our DC hasn't done this yet. We did do it for the pandemic, and I have a feeling we're going to wind up doing it for this now. We do have a warehouse out in Minnesota, but it's far enough away from Minneapolis that it really hasn't had any, we hadn't had to shut down or have any issues. But they set up we have an EAP, an employee assistance program company, and we actually set up a Skype therapist call for any employees that want to talk to a therapist to help them through all this in Minnesota. And like I said, we did it in our DC here in New Jersey for the pandemic because, New Jersey we were so hard hit that if any employees felt like they needed to talk to somebody because of what they were going through, and I have a feeling it's going to come this way, that we're going to set up the Skype therapist appointments during the work hours for them, so they don't have to take, they can come in, we'll set it up if they feel that they need to talk to somebody to help them through what they're going through as well. So that could be maybe something that they can do.
I just think that people have to be willing to have some really uncomfortable conversations right now, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And I also think too, right, to your point, Vicki, it's okay to say, I don't know how to have it. I don't know how to help you. I just want to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like you gave your friend good advice, Michelle.
I also think I gave this advice to members of my team this week. I think that we all come from different places. We all have different experiences. We've all grown up differently. We have different perspectives on the world, and we don't always know when we're doing something or saying something that might be mildly offensive or taken the wrong way. And I just think that we all have to be very accepting and sensitive to other people's experiences right now. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle.
That was a good way to end this.
Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. It was good to see you all again after missing last week.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Kelly.
much,
Thanks
Kelly.
for having me.
Thank you so much. Really helpful. Have a good week, everyone. Stay safe.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.